Welcome to another Warrior Collective video, and today's video is going to be a little bit different than the preparedness as far as getting supplies together and things like that. Today's video is specifically on protecting yourself, and most people, especially in the prepper world, or people think of doomsday preppers or people like that, they think of, guns, tasers, knives, and while those are all well and good, and, with firearms especially, you should have them, you should be well trained with them, and you should train often with them and be able to use them when needed. However, that is not specifically what this is talking about. I'm strictly talking about hand-to-hand combat. And this isn't something people talk about very often. Maybe I just haven't heard it. It's quite possible of that. But I have come across a lot of people who tend to have the mentality that with, hand-to-hand combat, like, well, if I'm carrying, a weapon, why do I need to have hand-to-hand combat? Why is that important? I just have my gun. And while to a point, that is true. There's situations where you're not going to be able to use that as an option. And there's also situations where you're not going to be able to respond fast enough to use that as an option. And by that, I mean, the average person can close 20 feet of distance in a very, very short matter of time. And I don't care how often you train and how quick you are at being able to draw and get your target acquisition and fire. If someone bum rushes you that quickly, you may not have time. You more than likely will not have time, even if you carry one in the chamber, which you should also do that and train with that. But the reality is you just won't be able to. And you need to be able to deal with that situation if you cannot pull your weapon fast enough. So with hand-to-hand combat, the importance with being able to use hand-to-hand combat in a self-defense situation and not being able to rely on your firearm. Again, people can close distance very quickly. The other situation is, say you're in an emergency disaster situation and you're out in the woods, you're, trying to rough it, trying to get somewhere else. Well, this is all hypothetical we're speaking here. And, you're trying to live off the land and someone in your group ends up eating the wrong mushroom and is just going berserk. And or obviously your friend, you don't want to shoot them, so you have to be able to deal with the situation at hand. Knowing how to do that in those situations would come in handy, but those situations are a lot less likely than someone bum rushing you from a close distance. And again, you're not going to be able to pull that weapon out fast enough. So this leads me to the point about this video for hand-to-hand combat. So learning how to physically defend yourself, and this video is not about telling you how to defend yourself. I'm not doing an instructional video on self-defense. But personally, I've taken self-defense and martial arts classes on and off for most of my life, and I'm not an expert at it, nor am I claiming to be. However, but I do know the good that it does bring, and at least having some confidence to deal with some scuffles that you may get yourself into. With that, what I'm going to recommend is some ways that you can learn and train, and places you can look for, or that I recommend looking for. For me personally, I take a style of martial arts that is from Korea, called Mudak Kwan. It's a offshoot from another style called Tang Sudo. This is not really Taekwondo. This martial art is more specifically aimed, at least that's the way I've been taught, that it's more aimed towards self-defense than it is towards the tradition. Now, our classes, we do teach the traditional, belts and, you have your gis and all that stuff. But a lot of our classes focus specifically on self-defense situations. Now, this school also happens to offer Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which, if you don't know what that is, you've been living under a rock for the last, 15 years with UFC being a huge thing. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is ground fighting. Now, ground is obviously not a place you ever want to get to, but knowing how to deal with that situation, if you ever get yourself in that specific situation, is good to know how to do. So, as far as trying to find a place, find somewhere that really focuses on self-defense, really focuses on, all areas of self-defense, not just the stand-up aspect of it and trying to fight someone off on a standing position, but trying to deal with them if they get you to the ground. The place that we go to is very good at that. They have a very heavy focus on self-defense, which is awesome, which is just what I need. But I also personally do love the traditional style of martial arts in general. What I don't suggest you do is what a lot of places recommend, which is take self-defense seminars. Go come out and try a one-day seminar. You'll learn all this cool shit, and you'll learn about a bunch of cool stuff. They will basically verbally vomit over you for a couple hours. You'll go home, you'll remember it for a few days, and then a month down the road, you may get yourself into a situation and try to remember what it is exactly that they taught you. And this goes back to the same thing with firearms. We're taught, if you have a firearm, you need to know how to use it, you know how to clean it, and you train with it often. Same thing goes with this. You have to keep training. You have to keep yourself in shape and keep that muscle memory going. So doing those seminars, while they give you a lot of good information, it doesn't stick most of the time. I mean, unless you have someone that goes with you to the class and you guys can regularly train together, then that's great. That might work for you. But generally, I'd say find a place that you can continually train with others and continually challenge yourself to get even better and better and better. So self-defense is something that I have personally taken seriously for, again, a large portion of my life, to the point now where, the self-defense thing and even the prepper lifestyle and this warrior collective lifestyle that we're trying to build with this channel is not so much just about the men of the household being warriors, which, we have that warrior mentality. It's in our nature, it's in our blood to protect and provide. But in the situations that we kind of talk about in this channel a little bit, it's really going to take all of you to be, training, to be learning, to be prepared for everything. And that goes along with self-defense, to the point where I take this serious enough in my household that all of my kids are taking some style of martial art. A couple of my kids actually take the same classes with me. My wife takes self-defense classes as well, and her and I train at home with what she learns. We're all involved. We're all doing this together. So this doesn't just apply to the self-defense aspect. As I said, this applies to the entire prepping mindset of, you all need to be in a mindset of being prepared and ready to go, because we don't know what life is going to throw at us. We don't know what the world is going to throw at us in the coming years, months, decades, whatever. But with all that said, the straightforward message is to learn to physically defend yourself and not rely on your EDC as your only option. You need to have multiple options. Just like with prepping, we have to have multiple plans, multiple things to be ready, because we don't know what's going to happen. And train with your family, get your family involved. If you have kids, get your kids involved. Teach them that it's okay to defend themselves first off, and that they need to learn to defend themselves, because, as a husband and a father, it's my goal to be with my family every waking second that I can and protect them, but I can't. So them knowing how to defend themselves to some extent is good, because I can't be around it every waking second, unfortunately. So with that, go out, get trained, find somewhere, start learning, find a partner. If it's, all you have is your spouse, you and your spouse go sign up for classes, go sign your kids up for classes if you can. Take some training of some sort in a physical defense situation, because it'll come in handy. I almost guarantee you at some point in your life, it will come in handy. Even if it's to de-escalate a situation, it'll come in handy. So until next time, learn, prepare, train, and find that inner warrior. Thanks you guys for checking out the video, and stay tuned for more from the Warrior Collective.